much less enter into discussions about.
Joining us now is retired Naval Intelligence Commander Dr. Paul Chabot. He also, by the way, served as White House senior advisor to Presidents Clinton and George W. Bush. And it's always great to see you. Thanks for joining us here, Dr. Chabot.
Pleasure to be with you. Look, a lot going on. There's sort of a trifecta effect happening right now in the world. When you look at the congressional hearings, I also want to bring us back for a minute. We have really the U.S. and Iran taking the headlines. You see anxiety in Congress. You see some pushback, more Republicans joining Democrats. But now you also see Russia and Ukraine with some new advanced fighting. And then on the third front, you have Israel and Hezbollah. With Iran, I want to just be direct. They've gotten much more bold in their attempts at fighting the United States and in their messaging. They fired at U.S. bases again in the last 24 hours. We intercepted those, but Iran was successful in hitting a civilian airport in Kuwait, an ally of the United States. There is boldness amongst the Iranian regime today.
You know, and I'll get back to the U.S. House passing the War Powers Resolution Act and what could happen moving forward. But I think we should take it right where you left it there with this attack at the Kuwaiti airport. You know, you sit back and you hear the word ceasefire. And you know, any regular person like myself is kind of shaking their head going, wait, what? That's not a ceasefire. So when they say the ceasefire is fragile, is this actually a ceasefire?
No, it's to the average American, all of us watching this, this is not a ceasefire. I know the United States mentions these as defensive operations, but look, we've been much more bold when Iran has struck at our forces. In the last day or so, we've gone after an island in the Strait of Hormuz that holds a lot of Iranian drone capability. But when you look at it on a map, it looks like a big, vast desert of nothingness. Yeah. It's not the case. You're looking at what looks like an ant farm, and underneath are tunnels of weaponry. That's what's coming up above the ground, aiming at U.S. forces as well as our allies in the Middle East. Iran is actively engaging in war, and Rubio, Secretary of State, just said today that Iran is actively mining the Strait of Hormuz. That is an act of war.
I do want to ask you, you know, you've been inside the rooms where this happens, you know, at the White House where people are making big decisions about this. You talk about negotiations and what's next for negotiations. When you have this kind of ramped up military action, does that make it less likely for talks?
I think right now we're in a very difficult position because we've made some promises or some assumptions to the American people. And at the same time, what we got to be aware of is that from a political perspective, just like Americans are watching the political news, so are the Iranians. They know that we have midterms coming up. They know that Trump's numbers are down. They know gas prices are up. And every day that Iran stays alive is a checkpoint to them. And that's why we're seeing much more boldness coming forward. Also, remember, they are still funding terror networks in the Middle East, including Hezbollah, who's fired 5,000 rockets at Israel. You have Israel and Hezbollah fighting today, and that is a big sticking point for Trump. As we know, Trump and Netanyahu did not have a very cordial conversation about those attacks. And then you have Russia and Ukraine, and the United States is looking at this. We are very capable of fighting multiple wars, but right now the strategy that we are portraying to the American people is not very direct. This is not a ceasefire. This is an active war.
You talk about bold actions. Many Republicans in the House would be called bold for doing what they did, which is to basically align themselves with those who say that there should be a War Powers Resolution Act. Track that for us. What happens moving forward? Do we see any success for these lawmakers who want to see that resolution passed?
No, not at this point. It's largely symbolic. Look, mostly all Democrats have come forward in the House, but you are seeing more and more Republicans joining, given it's a small number, 6. But still, what this shows is that the Republican leader in the House cannot necessarily hold the caucus together. Also striking is that sort of against the Trump agenda is that the House approved, I think, another $8 billion today for Ukraine. So you are seeing some differences come out and bubble up within the House. These will be largely talking points here domestically going forward politically. But at the same time, Americans are suffering from high gas prices, higher airfares, and just higher cost of living. And so therein lies the issue of it's a political issue, but also a world where we have three major conflicts happening at the same time.
And it affects our pocketbooks, especially this one, as everyone watches so closely. I know you'll be watching it closely with your great perspective. We'll be checking in with you again. Dr. Paul Chabot, thanks for your time here tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.